Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who is currently working on his schedule. It's Chris Kelly.
Hello.
I love that part. When Renfield's talking in the beginning of Dracula Dead and loving it, and everyone's going through the list of what he said, and the guy goes, schedule?
Yeah, he rolls in there, he's like, I can't stay here anyways, because I have a schedule to keep with Dracula. Schedule? According to the commentary, so Steve Haberman said that they recorded that scene 23 times.
Really?
23.
He was one of the writers, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's one of the writers, and when they went through that scene, everybody just burst out laughing in the commentary. Because it is a great scene. I mean, it was in the trailer as well.
So that I think that moment highlights just how, like, the nice spirit of Dracula Dead and loving it. This is a cheeky, funny, non-pretentious, non-highbrow movie that just wants to make you laugh. And I remember the reviews. I mean, it currently has 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, 5.2 on IMDb. I was reading, I like to do a lot of research, and people are like, it's a shame that Dracula Dead and Loving It is Mel Brooks' last film. This is garbage. Yeah. I've always loved this movie. Ever since it came out in 95, I have just loved this. I quote it all the time. I'm like, is this raspberry? It's a raspberry, isn't it? Raspberry. So when we talked about this, and we do a lot of vampire movies on the Movies, Films, and Flicks podcast, Near Dark, listen to it. Chris Kelly's on it. Oh, I gotta tell a story.
It'll change your life.
You were coming over today, and my wife Megan last night was like, hey, what time is Chris Kelly coming over tomorrow? And it made me so happy that my wife Megan calls you Chris Kelly. If not Chris or Kelly. Hey, what time's Chris coming over tomorrow? She's like, hey, when's Chris Kelly coming? And I was like, yeah! Chris Kelly, too. So when she said, where's Chris Kelly at? It made me very happy that she said your full name.
And all of a sudden she has a surveillance on.
Chris Kelly, too. Why aren't you at your lockup? Chris Kelly. I know we're not rolling right now, but we could roll at any time. Chris Kelly, I understand what you're saying, Chris Kelly. Chris Kelly, I'm just asking you to get to your lockup. No more lip. Chris Kelly just gave me more lip. Chris Kelly's over there giving me lip. Does that sound like most of your days on set? We can't do that.
What? Are you out of your mind? Why aren't you getting coffee?
Chris Kelly and I worked together for years on film sets, if you didn't know. And Chris Kelly was famous for drinking coffee and giving lip to people. Wherever Chris Kelly went, there was a coffee in his hand. Even on hot days. Yeah. Extremely hot days.
I still drink coffee on hot days. It's almost like what I'm known for.
Yeah, that was your bit. Everyone's like, oh, there's living the dream, Hoffmeyer, and everyone's like, there's hot coffee on a hot day, Chris Kelly.
Hot coffee,
Chris. Hot coffee on a hot day, Kelly. Rolls off your tongue.
I got shirts printed and everything.
If you were working on Dracula Dead and Loving It in 1994, I presume that's when they were shooting it. Would you have been drinking coffee on set?
Absolutely. Everything was interior.
Yeah, Burbank.
Well, and
no, Culver City?
It
was in California.
I know it was in California.
Yeah.
But there was only one scene where they were on location. That was the opening of the film. And, which is obvious because you can't fake that for a stage. But I was on the commentary, they said they deliberately did that. Mel Brooks and Steve Haberman both said that they deliberately did that because they wanted the viewer to feel like they were watching, Dracula from the Hammer films or from Bela Lugosi. 1931, yes.
Yeah, and
but they wanted to give that feel, but they really wanted to go as far as having oh gosh, why is it escaping me? But the scenes in the background, they wanted it to be glass paintings.
Oh, the matte paintings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They wanted those. They wanted to do that, but they thought it was going to be too expensive because that was an old format even at the time. So they said they used actual old paintings.
I love it.
And it's like they digitally put it in. So that opening shot, whenever they're going up to the castle, Renfield, they say that in the commentary, like, it's beautiful. It doesn't even look like it should have been in this movie. It's kind of true. What I also found interesting was in the opening credits, all those images that you see are actual old images from the time that when the movie takes place.
Wow.
So these are actual real images that were used to show demons or Dracula or to show
Nosferatu. I have lots of Nosferatu.
Vampires, and they wanted to sprinkle a little bit of truth from old history. Old history was that people who lived in castles, the common folk tend to believe that they were real vampires. And they said some people still believe that, although I doubt that. But that's what they really did feel in those times, because you never really saw them. Then you just assumed that they were vampires or they were very wealthy, something around that line. We talked about that briefly in Shadow of the Vampire.
Oh, we talked about Shadow of the Vampire, too. Another vampire picture. And they did weird stuff to furniture inside of vampires' castles. What are you doing to the furniture? So also I love that, Bram Stoker's Dracula, the story behind that, Francis Ford Coppola, they basically said to him, we are not paying you to go on location anymore. You can't go on location.
I cannot imagine how much that movie would have... Oh, God.
So then he goes, okay, I'll film it all in studio. So he filmed all of Bram Stoker's Dracula in studio. Oof. But it went over budget and over time, just like it would have done had he gone on location.
So they had to recreate the castles.
Everything.
That seems really impractical.
Everything was in camera. Like, listen to there's tons of documentaries and commentaries. Really great stuff. Listen to the podcast, Chris Kelly. So I love... So this movie, okay, when I saw this in 95, I had a lot of laughing. When Lucy says, and these are British.
Yeah, he's like, well, I can't, I'm British. So are these.
And Steve... He starts laughing. I love Steven Weber in this movie.
In the commentary, Steve Weber talks about how his wife is British, and he tried to work with her to get a better accent down. And he said that her criticisms were at minimal a maximum. So he said the commentary for this was recorded 9 years after the film had come out, and he said that his wife still kind of makes fun of him.
I mean, the accents are not trying.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
But that's part of the charm. But do you think this movie gets better when you've watched 31 Dracula, when you've watched Hammer Dracula?
Absolutely. I think that if you have not seen the other Dracula films, that this won't be as funny. I think that, probably generations that haven't seen the older Dracula films and Hammer films, monster
Dracula
movies
2000. Oh wait, that was after.
I don't think they would really like it, because in this movie heavily makes fun of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is Francis Ford Coppola, and 1931's Dracula. They do a little bit. The colorization, actually, now that I'm talking about that, the colorization of Dracula Dead and Loving It was borrowed from the Hammer Dracula, because they found... Yes, they found that those movies were better because the black and white Dracula, because originally this movie was supposed to be in black and white, but after thinking about it, it's a lot better move for it to have been in color, because the main aspect of Dracula is the blood.
Yeah.
So if the blood is black and it's not as good. Like that. Could you imagine that scene in the coffin where he's like, Steven Weber is nailing Nina, and then it's like... in black and white, it wouldn't have been as funny. But yeah, that was the original intent. But they said that if they were to spoof a Frankenstein movie, they probably would do it in black and white.
Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, there you go.
She just ate. I love that. But the gags in this movie, this is a gagapalooza.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just one right after the others. Well, one thing I wanted to bring up about that was that this was, at the time when it came out, it was not seen as a very good movie, which explains the Rotten Tomatoes score and
$11 million box office.
Yeah, a $30 million budget and a gross of $11 million. Because at the time, Mel Brooks, it was kind of seen as what I read online. This movie was seen as kind of a last ditch effort, that he'd just come out with Life Stinks, Robin Hood Men in Tights, and then this. So it was kind of like, we get it, Mel, you do spoofs. We liked Spaceballs. We like History of the World Part 1. We loved Blazing Saddles. It's been 20 plus years. You really need to change it up. And they kind of poke fun a little bit at that with on the commentary when Steve Haberman says, hey, even Charlie Chaplin did a serious film, what was it, Lady of Paris, I believe is the name of the film. The Woman of Paris. He said Charlie Chaplin did a serious film. Maybe you could do a serious one. Ha ha ha. And it's like, well, maybe he was kind of like hinting like, hey, maybe we should think about this.
Also, if you think about 94 or 95, 94 when it came out, it was fresh off the heels of Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that would have been
big. You had the Ace Ventura, you had Mask, you had Dumb and Dumber, then you had Pulp Fiction, you had those kind of Clerks.
Yeah,
it was like a super cool movement, like indie, we're indie, and then Dracula Dead and Loving It comes out,
And it just wasn't as received because exactly what you said at the time of it coming out. And also, I think a lot of people kind of forget about this is that in the mid 90s, there was a ton of those, like Pulp Fiction type movies. They were like one right after the other. I talked about this the other day at work, actually, and I said this to a guy who I think he was like 21 or 22, and I was like, in the 90s, there was bajillions of these movies, and he's like, no way. And I'm like, oh, God. I was like, Love in a 45, California, spelled with a K.
Things to do in Denver when you're dead.
Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
I don't know why I said things to do in Denver when you're dead like that. Why did I say it like that? Pool Hall Junkies? Oh,
I forgot about that movie.
That movie made me want to run into a wall.
Oh, what was the other one? Deuces Wild?
Yeah,
there's just one right after the other. There was just, Rounders, which was an okay movie, but they were just literally just one right after the other. And the 90s was more about indie films.
Gen X. Like,
yeah.
Michael Myers, like that kind of vibe.
Exactly.
To it. Like the So I Married an Axe Murderer vibe. That we covered as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey. Oh!
Going back.
Full circle. Oh, let's just talk about our old podcast.
Listen to the pods, Mark.
It all started. What was the first episode you did with me, Chris Kelly?
The Nun and I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. Strangers Pray at Night.
Strangers Pray at Night and The Nun. Because you told me about watching Strangers Pray at Night a million times, and I thought I didn't want to see it because I didn't really care for The Strangers, but then I saw Strangers Pray at Night, and I was thinking, wow, this is a great movie.
We talked about Nun for 3 minutes.
It's not a good movie.
Hey, let's talk about The Nun. All right, we're done. It happened. It's a movie. It made a lot of money.
It did.
A lot of money.
Those figures, that especially out of Mexico.
You were rolling in the dough.
God.
So much money.
Insane amounts of money that came.
That's what it made a lot of money in Mexico. The Nun.
It did because Mexico is a very religious area.
Yeah.
And religious
Catholic,
horror films
yeah.
do very well, especially Catholic horror films. They do astronomical in Mexico. So a lot of times when people look at these movies and they go, why are they doing so well? Why are they making sequels? Well, look at where most of the money came from. It's like, what was it?
$15 million budget. And it clears $200 million worldwide.
Yeah.
I'd make those all day.
Yeah, oh my God.
Make 6.
Yeah. Like, what was that? I was reading about Brazil.
Let the AI write it.
There was like a Brazil horror film, the movie that did well in Brazil.
And Netflix, it got on Netflix and everyone was talking about how great it is.
Yeah, what the crap was that? I can't remember.
It's called Dracula Dead and Love.
That's on, actually, if you're interested in it's
English!
It's... So, back to Dracula Dead and Loving It. I thought it was normal Mel Brooks behavior where he brought in all of his normal crew with him.
And Anne Bancroft for the weirdest cameo. I still don't laugh. I dislike that scene until she walks in the background going, I'm like, oh. So they did it so long. So basically there's a scene where Anne Bancroft is telling Renfield about Dracula. And she puts her what?
Just take the damn cross.
She puts her... Oh, yeah, she sells him a cross. Take the cross. All right, that's 15 rupees. Or kopaks. That's 15 kopaks. She sells it to him. But then she puts her, what? Thumb and pointer finger above her...
Above her, like...
on her throat.
Yeah.
Adam's apple area above. For if you have it. But, yeah, so, like, right about there, and she starts going... Then she's on that... And everyone... And then... Peter McNichol just keeps staring at it. And then it's not funny until she walks by in the background. Continuing to do it.
Continues to do it, shuts the door, and then continues to do it afterwards.
That's a weird scene. But I liked what Mel Brooks had to say about it when she popped up on the commentary. He seemed really happy.
Yeah.
He likes her.
Yeah, he likes her a lot. There's a lot of characters that he uses in the movie that he routinely uses.
Oh gosh, yeah. Corman.
The lady that plays the nurse that delivers the news to Van Helsing is Billy Crystal's daughter.
Oh, nice.
And that's why they look a lot alike. If you watch it again, you're like, oh shit, that looks a lot like Billy Crystal. It's because it is. This is what.
And I love that Harvey Korman popped up. Amy Yazbek was in Robin Hood Men in Tights. So many of the different people popping up in there. I don't know. Avery Schreiber, he's been in a bunch of them. But I love the little people. Like, I love the familiar people that he has in this. I think they're all funny.
There's a small character, which I'm sure you wouldn't have remembered in the